magacaygu waa Maxamed Ismaaciil waxaan ahay agaasimaha macadka daraasaadka geeska Afrika Minnesota waxa maanta farxad weyn noo ah in aan qabanayno bandhig shaqooyinka la xiriira waxa halkan noogu yimid kambaniyada shaqooyinka hayay iyo xafiisyada shaqooyinka hayay iyo sidoo kale dadkii shaqooyinka abalaagareynaya inay shaqooyinka codsadaan diyaarka u ahaa kambaniyada ama xafiisyada noo yimid waxa kamid ah Minnesota Department of Transportation waxa kale oo meesha noo socda UBS shaqooyinka meeshan la soo bandhigaya waxa isugu jira kuwa professional oo xirfadeed iyo kuwa sidoo kale kuwa gacanta laga qabanay intaba kambaniyo waxoogaa ah iyo xafiisyo waxoogaa ah halkan noo jooga dad badan oo East African kulankan way ka soo bandhigan way ka qayb qaadanayaan inta waxa dheer waxa iyaguna bandhig sameyn doona US Department of State ama wasaaradda arrimaha dibadda Mareykanka oo u baahan dadkii uga shaqeyn lahaa safaaradaha iyo qonsuliyadaha dibadda iyo sidoo kale xafiiska DC Department of State-ka sidoo kale waxay soo bandhigayaan fursadaha ay u hayaan la xiriirta tababarada la xiriirta fellowship-ka internshipska waxyaabaha la midka ah waxa inta dheer waxaan dadka ka caawinaynaa waxyaabaha la xiriira interview-ga iyo sidoo kale sameynta resume ay u baahan yihiin sidoo kale professional headshots baa loo sameyn ruuxii u baahan waxa inta dheer waxa iyaguna jira meesha sida Hired ama Summit Academy oo inta badan ka shaqeeya waxyaabaha la xiriira horumarinta workforce-ga oo ka caawiya tababarada gaagaaban iyo waxyaabaha la midka ah gaar ahaan dadka waddanka ku cusub ama dadka xirfadaha kooban ee waqtiga gaabana u baahan inay suuqa shaqada ku galaan marka kulankan waa markii labaad ee kulan noocan kala qabanayno November kala hore xilliga ayaan qabanay kulan la mid ah waxaan rajaynaynaa sidii kii hore inuu kana u guuleysto insha Allah aad u mahadsantiin.
Gentlemen, thank you for taking time out of your busy schedules to meet some new friends and colleagues, to explore some employment opportunities and some career planning, especially for people that are coming into Minnesota and to Minneapolis and St. Paul, especially those of you coming in from East Africa. We have very large and active diaspora groups here and communities, and it's a delight to have a chance to meet some of you. My name is Jim Rice. I'm on the board of the Minnesota International NGO Network. I'm the treasurer there. And in my day job, I'm also involved in developing boards and directors in a number of countries in the continent of Africa, also the Mideast, Eastern Europe, Latin America. But I live here, and it's nice to be with all of you, especially when it's not raining. So our flow is going to be very informal and friendly. You can see from the screen that we have 4 panelists. We're going to start in a moment with some introductory comments and remarks from Fartun Weli. She's a founder and a really active and wonderful leader of an organization that has a table over here to my left. You'll see this gentleman sitting there, Hasroon, which Fartun was very gracious to educate me that means in the Somali language a whole series of concepts about self-sufficiency and self-reliance, especially for women, but for everybody that's involved. And she's an active advocate and a champion for all good things for women and their families. She'll have an opportunity to share her background and a little bit about her organization in just a moment. Then we're going to go to Beirut Abofogi, and she's also sitting here. I probably didn't do the right accent on your last name, but I was talking with her earlier, and her parents love Beirut, and hence the name, the Paris of the Mideast. So Beirut, you'll have an opportunity also to share who you are and something about your organizational linkages here in this part of Minnesota. The third person is then going to be Edward Arias. He's with United Healthcare, a very large healthcare conglomerate that's active internationally but is headquartered here in the Minneapolis suburbs. We will bring him forward as soon as he arrives, but we're not going to wait. We're going to begin in just a minute. And after those short remarks, they're not going to give you long presentations. We want you to think of them as individuals and people that have made the change and have found ways to be active and to help others around them. And so I'm quite confident you're going to enjoy hearing their story. And then we're going to have a little bit more formal presentation by Susan Falatko. She has met some of you over here. She's with the U.S. State Department. She actually is based down in Chicago, but she's often up and around the Midwest and here in Minnesota, and we're delighted to have her with us. She's going to use a few slides to share some messages with us that will be useful for all of us, whether we're on the employer side or the people looking for employment as well. We also have on some of the tables a small handout that looks at some of the challenges for immigration individuals and leaders coming into the Twin Cities of Minneapolis, St. Paul, and in Minnesota. Some of the challenges, some of the rationale to do that in a planned way. And so we hope that will be something that you can look at later and should be available through the website of our sponsor here, which is the Minnesota Institute for Horn of Africa Studies. Muhammad Ismail, would you please stand and take a bow for everyone here? You helped make this work. Thank you. So without further introductory comments, it would be my distinct pleasure and honor to invite you, Fartun, to the podium and share some of your story. Thank you.
Do it from here. You're so Okay. Salam alaikum. So, as Jim said, Jim, thank you so much for introducing me and being friendly to us. This is gratitude to Muhammad Ismail. This is a place I came within a month twice. So that says that you got, you're helping us move forward. So many of us do a lot of work, but my name is Fartun Wali. I'm Somali American. First generation, I arrived to Minnesota at the beginning of 2000. Some of you were not born, so don't worry. And when I heard about what's happening today about jobs in the future and sustainability, that is what Opportunities is all about. And as a representative of Issurun, which serves multi-generation right now, Somalis, having jobs and upward mobility is part of our mission. So Issurun serves about 17,000 Somali women and their families, including men. I'm going to repeat that, including men. So we're not just a feminist that just supports women. What I say is women's agenda is a family agenda, and family agenda is a country's advancement. So we're going to stop talking about women and children and husband as they're different. As people of color, that has been a huge disadvantage, so we're going to talk about holistically. We have many, many programs. Everything we do is towards upward mobility and earning income, being out of poverty. So on behalf of all the Somalis, mom and dads in Minnesota, we want our young folks to move up to the ladder and earn income and sustain it. So I'll be excited to talk about these things, but here you go. Thanks, Jim.
Thank you, Fartun. Next, we'd like to have you hear the short story about Beirut. If you would please come forward. Give a warm welcome and round of applause for you, Beirut.
Well, thank you so much for that warm introduction. My name is Beirut Abafogi. Currently, I work on Senator Amy Klobuchar's Senate campaign as an operations director. That's my full-time job, and I do have a consultancy firm that I started with a few of my friends recently, and that's in the process of, getting built. Thank you. Yeah. So first off, I just want to say thank you to the Institute of the Horn for hosting such great event. especially for the vibrant East African communities here. And I also would like to thank our ambassador Susan Flatko for being here, and thank you for all of you for taking your time, time out of your work or families and be here for this event. I'm just gonna be brief, but I'm gonna talk a little bit about my professional journey in Minnesota. So I arrived in Minnesota towards the end of 2016. Before coming here, I had a law background. I graduated from Ethiopia and I had a law degree, and I had an experience of a international humanitarian aid work. I worked for the UNHCR right after I finished school. So when I got here, I didn't know where to go or which route to take career-wise. I was very confused, and I didn't come across the resources that I see here today, because I was also a newcomer. I didn't know a lot of people, but I'm glad that I was resilient about putting myself back to school and figuring out my way. So I joined the Metropolitan State University, and I registered for a program called Masters in Advocacy and Political Leadership. And after that is when I learned so much about our state and the resources that they have, the support that they provide for communities that were newcomers like me. So it kind of eased my way into the profession that I am in today. So I would like to say events like this, inclusive hiring events like this, I can't overstate the significance of these types of events, because there are so many community members who are at the same place that I was back in 2016 and who might not find the way back to the workforce or the profession that they're interested in easily. So yeah, I am a testament as to what inclusivity does, and we always have to work hard. We have to make our workplace more inclusive, because diversity is beautiful. Where I came from, I'm Ethiopian. I came from Ethiopia. It's a country of 110 million people, diverse, countless number. We have so many ethnic groups in Ethiopia, but diversity is it's not always celebrated over there. After coming here, one of the most important lessons I've learned is how beautiful diversity is and how inclusive we can be, and what values that we can add to people's lives by removing barriers and being more inclusive to communities. So yeah, I will end my remark with that, and thank you so much. I hope we will do this more often, and we will have more audience next time. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you, Beirut, and thank you, Fartun. We're going to, in a moment, I'm going to invite Susan up here to make a little bit more formal or structured presentation. And Susan, when you come up, I'd like you to do your personal story about some of your growth and patterns and pathways that you followed in development and diplomacy and those kinds of things, because they'll find that interesting. The other thing that I'll do is, when Susan is done with her remarks, she will still remain here a few minutes longer. She does have a hard stop of having to move on at 5 o'clock. But when she is completed, I want to make sure, Mohammed, I've got a microphone. I want to go, each person that has taken time to have a table, they can say hello and what their organization is. I know they've had a chance to do that with several of you individually, but we'll walk around the room and do that as soon as Susan has been done with her remarks. Susan has a very rich career. I'm delighted that she's been able to take time to join us here and advocate for this. And the gentleman that's helping us capture and record and share these insights is here from the Somali Network TV. He's a talented individual, and we're recording these ideas and these messages and the organizations to give you a chance to reflect on this, access some of it later through the website of the Minnesota Institute for Horn of Africa Studies. So to stimulate our thinking and give us a broad view and encourage us to look at this whole area of inclusive employment, especially as it relates to the U.S. State Department and the many activities that they have, I think you'll find it interesting. So let's welcome Susan to the stage for some remarks. Please.
Right, so good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much, Mohammed, for putting this together. I love to be able to come here and speak with everyone. Minnesota is one of my favorite places to come because there's real interest here in global affairs, what's going on outside of our communities, and I think that's really exciting for me. I don't get that everywhere. But I'm going to give you I'm going to put a lot of information up here. I'm going to make this presentation available. So Mohammed has it, you can email it, share it to anyone who wants to see it. But if you have questions when we are done, I have some cards on the table you can take, but here's also some of my contact information. This is an assignment for me. I am a Foreign Service officer, a diplomat. So I'm here for a few years and then I will move on and someone else will become the diplomat in residence, Midwest, after I leave. I'm still here for at least 2 more years, but this is why we use this email, dirmidwest@state.gov. That will stay in place even after I've moved on. The same for my LinkedIn profile. I have a personal profile. I don't use it for much. Look for me as Diplomat in Residence Midwest. I put a lot of our information on LinkedIn, so you can connect with me there. And if you miss anything, because again, I'm going to give you a lot of information, careers.state.gov. That is our website with all of this information on it and more. So I want to make sure you know how to find that. So, yeah, who am I? James said that I should tell a little bit about my background. I am a diplomat. We call ourselves Foreign Service officers. I've been in for 25 years, had my anniversary this year. There are different career paths in the Foreign Service. One of them is economic. I'm an economic officer. We'll talk a little bit about what that means, but that is my chosen career. So I've done a lot of economic work around the world. I have served over 25 years in 7 countries, and these are the countries that I've served in. And the nice thing about the Foreign Service is that you never do the same job twice. Even though I'm an economic officer, I've served 2 to 3 years in each of these countries, but the work I have done has been different. Because economics, that's a lot of things, right? I could be looking at banking, I could be looking at energy issues, I could be looking at environment issues, that falls under economic. So this is one thing, if you like learning and doing new things, the Foreign Service is one of those ways that you can do that for a whole career. My most recent assignment before coming back to Chicago was as the Deputy Chief of Mission, which is like the Deputy Ambassador in Slovenia. I was there for the last transition between presidential administrations, and so our ambassador left, and I was the acting ambassador for over a year. So that's kind of my most recent background. Now I'm based in Chicago, which for me is exciting because that's where I'm originally from, and I have not lived there in about 35 years, so it's exciting to be back. I cover Minnesota, Wisconsin, and Illinois. And another reason I love doing this is because when I was growing up in the Chicago area, I didn't know anything about the State Department, really about government jobs, about the Foreign Service. And so I'm glad to be able to come here and share this information with people because it is such a fascinating, fantastic opportunity. So who are we? If anyone's seen this show, it came out last year. It's kind of fun. It's not, so Carrie Russell plays the ambassador, the US ambassador to the UK. For some reason, shows are always based in the UK as if nowhere else on earth existed, but That's what we have. She is schmoozing with the foreign minister of the UK. She's doing these backroom negotiations in some places. Maybe there's a tiny little bit of that in what we do, but very little bit. So what I want to do today is talk to you about the various opportunities and the things that we really do. But first, the State Department is a government cabinet agency. It's actually the first one. Thomas Jefferson was our first Secretary of State. We're not very big. And in fact, of our fewer than 80,000 employees, only about 13,000 are actually foreign service, meaning we work overseas at our embassies. We hire domestic employees, civil service, so about 11,000. Those are primarily going to be in Washington, D.C., especially the policy jobs, but we do have some other State Department opportunities. Here in Minneapolis, we have a passport agency. Those are State Department jobs too. And then at all of our embassies, we hire local employees from the country. So that's actually the biggest part of our workforce, are people from the countries where we are posted as embassies. And they're critical to what we do. They understand the country more than we ever will as foreigners. They are really the institutional knowledge as we are moving every few years from one embassy to another. It's our local staff that maintains that continuity. But ultimately, why do we have embassies all over the world? Why do we even do this? And ultimately, our mission comes back to the United States. Everything we do is intended to ensure the security, the prosperity, and the safety of American citizens. And we do that by working with our international partners, by trying to shape the international environment so that it's favorable for our citizens. We're located almost everywhere. We have 276 posts around the world. We are not in a few places. So, for example, we are not in Iran, we are not in North Korea, but most places we do have some kind of a mission. Our headquarters, of course, is Washington, D.C., the State Department. And then, as I mentioned, we do have some other smaller offices around the country, like passport agencies. We have some diplomatic security, law enforcement agencies around the country as well. A lot of people think you have to study political science to become a foreign service officer, and that is just not the case, because if you look at this list, this is not a complete list. This is just examples of some of the issues that we work on. So basically anything that has an international component to it, we are going to be working on it at the State Department. So everything from science and technology to women's issues to energy to climate change, all of these are things that we work on, and we need people with expertise in these issues. There are different paths into the State Department. I've mainly been talking about the generalists right now, but I know there is a lot of IT expertise here in this room and in this community, and I also want to emphasize we have IT positions. So foreign service, the generalists are the diplomats. The specialists are also diplomats, but they have specialized training. This is going to be our healthcare professionals, our IT professionals, our law enforcement. We'll talk about that a little bit. We do have fellowships and internships. We have several fellowships that will pay for graduate school and give you a job in the State Department. We'll talk about those. We have internships. Most of our internships are paid. And then we have the final thing on here, the Consular Fellows Program we'll talk about. It's a temporary appointment to the Foreign Service for people with certain languages. All right, generalists. This is what I am. There are 5 different flavors, I guess, of generalist. I'm economic, as I mentioned. There's also political. Political and economic officers do very similar jobs, only the issues are different. So we are basically on the ground in a country, we are talking to people, we are building relationships, we're trying to understand the country, to understand what motivates its leaders. And we are providing that information to the policy decision makers in Washington. We are not policy makers ourselves. We are not political. We are providing analysis and input of what we know about a foreign country. and that helps the decision makers make their policies. We have a public diplomacy track. These are people who tell America's story overseas. They will work with the press. They will work with our social media. They also do a lot of exchanges, cultural exchanges. We bring over musical groups and sports figures to kind of build mutual understanding of who we are. Consular officers will help American citizens that are traveling, living, working overseas. Everything from replacing a lost passport to registering a birth abroad, to helping with international adoptions, to helping Americans who are in crisis, maybe a medical emergency, or they've been a victim of crime overseas. That's what consular officers do. They have a second function. They interview foreigners for visas. So people who want to come to the United States, they have to have an interview in many cases. And so consular officers provide that. And then a lot of people don't realize, but we need managers. We need people to manage our embassies. All of those functions that any business has, an embassy has too. So we hire management officers. We will hire any degree, any major for any of these. You could be a theater major and become a management officer because we will train you in the specifics. What we're looking for are people who are intellectually curious. You're interested in a little bit of everything. And so that's what makes you a good candidate for the Foreign Service. But we'll train you in the specifics, so you don't have to have a political background to be a political officer. But most of your career will be spent overseas. Usually an assignment is 2 to 3 years long, and then we move to another country. Specialists. We have a lot. Now these are jobs that are going to require some kind of specialized knowledge, which is why they're called specialists. We have a law enforcement branch called diplomatic security. They are responsible for keeping our people, our embassies, and our information secure when we are overseas. They are advisors to the ambassadors on security situation. We hire administrative specialists. So I was telling somebody we have an opening now for human resources officers. We hire financial management officers. We hire administrative assistants, somebody to work for the ambassador. We hire engineers because we build embassies. We renovate embassies. We have all kinds of technical security around embassies that requires engineering. We have, as I mentioned, IT positions. Our overseas IT positions are really systems managers, but our diplomatic technology officers are responsible for all of the classified, the unclassified computer systems, the radio telecommunication networks, and you have an entire staff that helps with that. We hire doctors, psychiatrists, nurse practitioners, physician's assistants, and lab techs, because a lot of times we work in countries where the healthcare isn't up to US standards. So we will have a health unit at the embassy staffed by American health professionals. So we are hiring for that. And then we also have, in many countries, we will have English language resources, classes, libraries, so we hire specialists for those kinds of jobs. But again, because these are foreign service, you will spend most of your career overseas. There are only 2 requirements to become foreign service generalist or specialist. You do have to be a US citizen, but you can be a naturalized US citizen. You can be a dual citizen, but you do have to have that US citizenship. You have to be a minimum age of 20 to apply, but we will hire you up until your 60th birthday. So if you think 20 years down the road, I remember somebody told me about the Foreign Service. I'm kind of bored with my job. Maybe I'll look into it. Come back to us in 20 years. The specialists are going to require different kinds of education experience. The generalists do not. You do not even need a college degree to become a generalist. But we are looking for people who can pass a test, who are intellectually curious. But if you've gained that knowledge and experience from your work, from travels, you don't need a degree. But we are looking for certain skills. These are the skills we are looking for. So if you are thinking of applying as an IT person, as a generalist, we're going to look for these 11 skills. They're called the dimensions. They are on our website. If you ever plan to apply, I encourage you to internalize these and come up with some good examples of how you demonstrate them, because that's what we'll be looking for in your application. As far as application, the generalists, you start with a test that happens typically about 3 times a year. It's usually in October, February, and June. So the next one is coming up in October. It's online, it's free, so anybody can register to take it if you're 20 years old and a US citizen. It's a tough test. It's multiple choice, but it covers a little bit of everything because we're looking for curious people. You can take the test as many times as you want, but only once every 12 months. So if you take it in October and you're not invited to the next step, you have to wait until next October to take it again. But you can. And in fact, many people take it more than once, and that's perfectly okay. Some of our other specialist jobs are open all the time. Our diplomatic security, that law enforcement job, you could go online today. They also take a test. It's a different test, but you can go online and register for that test today. I have to change this. Our information management specialists have been rebranded as diplomatic technology officers, but that is that overseas IT position. That is open all the time. You can go online and apply for it today. We haven't talked about consular fellows, but I will in a minute. And then office management specialists, those administrative assistant positions, open all the time. Some of the other positions are only open from time to time. So our human resources officer position is open right now, but it closes very soon. Our engineers, our healthcare professionals, they open from time to time. I'm not going to go into this in detail, but pretty much everyone, specialist or generalist, has to take a test. There are a lot of steps in our hiring process. It's all online, you can look at it, but I just put it here to demonstrate it's a lengthy process. It can take more than a year from taking your test to coming into the State Department. So you want to plan for that if you're deciding if you're interested. Consular Fellows. This is a temporary appointment if you speak Arabic, Spanish, Portuguese, or Mandarin. This gives you a 5-year appointment as a consular officer, and basically that is because we need to interview people for visas. And in countries where these languages are spoken, we have huge backlogs. People have to wait months to get their visas, and that's just not right. So we are bringing in people as consular fellows to help us with this backlog to keep things moving. Now, it's not a direct route to the Foreign Service, but a lot of our consular fellows decide they like it, and then they come into the Foreign Service. They have to take the test, but they're usually pretty successful because they've been doing the job already. I know some of you don't want to travel. We do have domestic jobs. There are civil service positions. All of these different categories we hire for. We hire cybersecurity, computer science, law degrees, we have management people, data analysts, all of these different kinds of jobs. Typically, because we are a US government agency, most of them are going to be in Washington, D.C. However, we do have some around the country. So the best way to look for these jobs, it's very different. There's no testing process. You have to go on usajobs.gov and you search for the position you want. You can search under these names: budget administration, contract procurement. You can search for them that way on USA Jobs. So it's a little bit of a different process. You apply individually to any of the jobs that you're interested in. Internships. So we have 10-week internships in the summer, or fall, or spring. They are in DC or at an embassy overseas, but we pay for your travel and housing, and we pay you. They're paid internships, about $18 an hour. Next summer, 2025, the application opens this fall in September or October. That is because all of our interns need a security clearance, and that process can be long. So if you're interested in an internship for, not this summer, for next summer, Be aware that is going to open up this fall. We have the second bullet here is a 2-summer internship. This is merit-based and need-based. So you have to have a financial, show some financial need or do a financial statement. But this gives you a internship the first summer in Washington, the second summer at an embassy overseas. And again, travel and housing are paid, and it's a paid internship. The last one is unpaid. It's a virtual internship though. So it's up to 10 hours a week. It's school year long. And these applications open in February for the following school year. These are individual projects, and there are hundreds of these internships. So if you're interested in kind of getting a foot in the federal government, the VSFS internships are great. You can look that up, vsfs.gov, I think. But look up Virtual Student Federal Service. I see someone's taking a picture, so I'll hold here for a second. All right, fellowships. We have graduate school fellowships in international affairs. So the first bullet is actually 2 different fellowships, the Pickering and the Wrangell. These will pay for graduate school in an international affairs related field. And then upon successful completion, we give you a job as a foreign service generalist. Because we have paid for your school, you have a service commitment. You have to stay in for 5 years. After that, many people stay, or you can move on to something else. This application is open right now, both of them, Pickering and Wrangell. They're open now for the school year that will start in the fall of 2025. So if you're going to be a senior this year, or if you're out of school and if you're looking to go back to grad school, you can apply for these. The second one is important. This is our IT fellowship. It's fairly new because we need diplomatic technology officers, and people don't know these jobs are out there. So we will pay either for graduate school, or we'll pay for you to finish college, junior and senior year of undergrad, in an IT or computer science related field, and then we give you a job as a diplomatic technology officer. Again, there's a 5-year service commitment, but after that, you can move on, go to Silicon Valley, whatever you'd like. We also have a diplomatic security fellowship. This will pay for graduate school in anything and give you a job as a diplomatic security special agent, our law enforcement position. That one only has a 3-year service commitment. They negotiated that somehow. And then the last one I throw in here, the Presidential Management Fellowship it does not pay for graduate school, but it is a civil service domestic fellowship. So if you want to get your foot in the door of the State Department or the federal government, the Presidential Management Fellowship is one of the ways to do that. So I put that up there. You can look up more online. Those applications are open in the fall. All right. So if you're interested, how do you prepare? What can you do to make yourself a better candidate? We hire all majors, but we're looking again for people who are interested in a little bit of everything. So be curious. If you are a political science major, make sure you're taking classes in other things too, that you understand what's going on in economics, that you have some history background, that you are following emerging technology. I mean, that's a huge thing for diplomats. We are talking with other countries, how do you build guardrails around some of these emerging technologies? So be aware of what's happening in trends. So read broadly. Read multiple news sources. There's no such thing as unbiased media. Read several. Know your geography, especially if you're going to be living and working around the world. You want to know where you're going. Practice your oral and written communication skills. This is key, especially for the generalists, for the political and economic officers. We are transmitting information to Washington. Nobody in Washington has time to read a 5-page paper. We have to be able to transmit information concisely. So that's a skill you can practice. Build your leadership skills. I hope you're just doing that anyway. That's good life advice. So find ways to build your leadership skills. And then this last one I put up here because The Foreign Service, just by its nature, you find yourself in different countries, in different situations. Figure out how to expand your comfort zone, because you're going to find yourself in a situation outside your comfort zone. It's just the nature of the job. So find ways now to push those boundaries out. Things that make you uncomfortable, try to start doing some of those. If you don't like public speaking, try to practice public speaking, but push out that comfort zone. I'm going to end with this. This is a quote from our current Secretary of State. I'm going to let you read that. We represent the United States overseas. We cannot do that if all our American voices are not represented in the diplomatic corps. So we want to make sure that we are bringing people, Americans from all backgrounds, from everywhere, into our diplomatic corps. So that's why I'm here. That's why I'm in the Midwest. That's why I come to Minnesota, because we need your voices. Not everybody in America comes from the East Coast, nor should our diplomatic corps be composed of people exclusively from the East Coast. We are looking for you, we want your talents, and I hope that you're interested. If you are, final thing, if you want to sign up for my talent network, I send out a newsletter once a month, talk about different opportunities, we do different webinars, we have a practice webinar for the test, if anyone's interested in taking the test. So you can take a picture of that and sign up. I'll give you all a second. And then I'm going to end just by putting my contact information up again, and you can take a look at that. And then I'm open to questions.
Thank you very much. So, we have an opportunity. Do one or two of you have some questions of Susan? It's an exciting array of opportunities to think about, not just coming here for employment in Minnesota, but to think long range for opportunities in the Foreign Service, both domestic and international. Any questions or comments? Such a shy group. Oh, here's one. Yes, please. And if you'll just introduce yourself and then ask a question, but no big speeches.
Thank you. I would like to just take 15 short minutes for the speech.
Yes.
My name is Abdul Farah, also known as AK. I am a part of MNIHAS. I would like to take a moment to thank you for coming here and participating for your prime time here. My question is, since from last meeting here, you educate us about this information and much better. What was the return? What was the outcome? If you can brief us, that would be great. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, that's a great question. I spoke to many people who reached out to me after this. I added a lot of people through that QR code. A lot of people are getting the information on it. Because it's such a long process, I'm not going to know the outcome for some time. But the good thing is, I am going to be in this role for at least 2 more years. And I hope in the next few months, years, I start seeing these people actually showing up in our jobs, in our careers. But I've spoken to several people who I met at this last event. So that was really, really heartening for me.
Please, stand and introduce yourself.
Take 2. Afternoon, everyone. Kim Johnson, representing the Minnesota Department of Veteran Affairs, MDVA, and ensure that everyone heard it, as everyone else in the room. You'll see for the federal side, their actual link is careers.state.gov. When you're going to apply for any position within the Minnesota side, so state, community college, our state agencies, you can go to the portal, which is mn.gov/careers. And for MDVA, again, Minnesota Department of Veteran Affairs, you'll be able to help assist for our mission of taking care of not only the veterans, but our dependents that reside in Minnesota. So there's a wide range of positions available. Do not hesitate to come by and ask any questions.
Hello. Well, my name is Rathuk Chain. I'm the social media and marketing coordinator at Itharoon. I'd like to thank Mohammed for inviting Itharoon and MNIHAS. Itharoon, as you could hear from our amazing leader and CEO, Fartunueli. We do so much within the community. We help all. You can come back to my table. I have so many program flyers and materials. We do have a home ownership education course starting on July 27th, Saturday. So please stop by and come down to Itharoon at our main office on 1600 East Lake Street. Thank you.
Who would like to speak?
I guess I can go ahead.
Okay.
I'll stand up with you. All right. Hello, I'm Hannah Jones, and this is Rachel, and we're from Blaze Credit Union.
Keep both together there.
Oh.
Thank you.
We're both from Blaze Credit Union. We're HR business partners, and we're just here today promoting some of our careers, tellers, personal bankers, member service representatives. So stop by if you're looking for a career in finance.
Who would like to speak?
Good afternoon. My name is Gidey. I'm from Goodwill with my colleague Bilal Eksad. We are job counselors. We help people get a job. We also have funds for training. Anyone who's looking for a job, please stop by our table.
That covers it. I will just add that our services are direct service, one-to-one. So we tailor what we do with people based on their situation, the kind of jobs they're looking for, the kinds of job search activities that they need some advice on. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Amy Yang. I'm an HR business partner here with Minji Digestive Health. We are a local specialty healthcare organization that works with patients with digestive disorders. We're also the largest private GI practice in the U.S. Really proud of the community that we serve here. We're here hiring for our clinic positions as well as administrative positions, and a lot of these roles are looking specifically for bilingual positions as well. So feel free to stop by and chat with me if you have an interest in any healthcare positions.
Hello.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Susan Hay, and I'm the recruitment retention manager with Austin Area Schools. We are the 5th largest school district in Minnesota with over 20,000 students enrolled, and about 60% of our students are students of color. So we're the northwestern suburbs of the Minneapolis area, about 20 minutes from here. We also I'm here to recruit for positions in public education, so from teaching to classroom support, custodial, school nurses, food services, administrative, and the whole operation of the school district. So if you want to make an impact to our future generation, the current and future generation, please come chat with me, and I'd love to share more about our information with you. Thank you.
Hi. My name is Nicolai Vivi. I'm here with UPS. You probably know us, the big brown trucks, right, out for delivery service. I personally work out of a location off of Broadway and Industrial Boulevard in Northeast Minneapolis. I'm also here representing locations at the Minneapolis-St. Paul Airport, Maple Grove, Eagan, Shakopee, but we're located all across the country. We're in all 50 states and over 200 countries worldwide. So if you have any interest in joining the UPS team, stop by my table. Thank you.
Hello. My name is Sean Phillips. I'm representing Integrated De-icing Services. We're at the Minneapolis-St. Paul Airport. It's a hard weather airport, but still has some of the best service reliability in the entire country. And one of the reasons is because we've got a company like ours that is making sure that the planes are clear to fly no matter the weather that we're working in. This is a technical job. We're hiring for the de-icers or driving the trucks. We will do the training. It's paid training. It is a seasonal position, but there's a lot of overtime. If our winter has been anything like this summer, we're going to have a lot of precipitation and we're going to have a lot of work. So thanks for coming up.
Thank you. Thank you. Hello.
Hello, everyone. My name is Marnie Kerfman. I'm also here with the state of Minnesota, representing the Department of Transportation. We've got a lot of different openings. Of course, we need engineers and we need folks out on the highways, but we also need everyone else who makes this huge department run. So accountants, HR, biologists, hydrologists, archaeologists, the list is very long. So please come and talk to me about your interests. Thanks.
Hello all, my name is Sean, and yes, we're here from Summit Academy. Summit Academy, we offer a few different vocational trainings from IT to, we have a healthcare service, we have an electrical program, as well as carpentry is really what we're known for. I guess really one way that we kind of stand out is that we're known for offering these courses at no cost to you out of pocket as a student. So definitely stop by, see what we offer. We also offer GED as well. So at, once again, no cost. Thank you. Yes.
Hey, good afternoon, everyone. Sam Peterson, Edom, here with Hired. We're a local nonprofit. We have 4 core offices here in the Twin Cities, and we offer workforce development services, FREDA eligible community members. So we work and focus on an individual's employment goal, and we help them meet that goal and the barriers to it. Again, the services are free to eligible community members. I know I've talked to a lot of you already, but if you haven't stopped by, please do so. Thanks.
Thank you. We have one last introduction, a story about Edward, and we're happy that you're here, Edward. And please, if you'll join me on the stage, we'd like you to introduce yourself, a little bit about your story and the organization in which you're working, and then we're going to throw it open for a lot more networking after this. Please, Edward, welcome. This microphone should be live, so you can...
Thank you.
Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you for having me here today. My name is... Sorry. This is a festival that we get together once a year to celebrate our heritage, culture, and everything. And this week, we usually invite artists and some very highly educated people back home to here. Last year alone, we sent invitation, about 35 letters to invite these people. About 35 of them got rejected. None of them came to America to teach and to represent our culture to kids that are born here. We went to the Dean's office to express this, this thing, and also, we got a lot of support from Amy Klobuchar office, Dean's. Still, those who got rejected too. So this is an issue as a community we're really suffering from. Maybe if you can look into it and help us for next year festival, so those people can come and express that teach those cultures to our people here.
So you're saying they weren't issued visas?
Yeah, none of them.
And that's one of those things, the way that immigration law is written, our consular officers have to determine that there is, there's strong enough ties to the home country that we know they're going to return. Sometimes that's difficult to demonstrate, but I don't know what the situation was for these people. And you talked to the embassy? Because maybe sometimes reaching out to the embassy just to let them know this is what we're doing here and why we're inviting these people. But yeah. Oh, you did have the letters, yeah. Yeah.
Start now, though, if it's a year.
Yeah, start now for next year and just, explain what's going on. You might want to try and find people who can demonstrate like they have a business there, or some reason that the consular officer can say, oh, I know this person is coming back. They have their whole life here, their business. Sometimes with younger people, it's hard to demonstrate those ties. So if you're inviting a lot of young people who haven't been working for a while, it could be a little bit more difficult for them to get a visa.
Thank you. Take two more. One here, please.
First of all, thank you for being here. My question is that what kind of a strategy do you use to make the State Department diverse and representative of every minority group that are located in the state that you represent?
Yes, great question. So we have diplomats and residents. There are 17 of us. We are located all around the country. But we also have what we call national recruiters that are responsible for certain groups. So we have a national recruiter responsible for women, for African Americans, for Hispanic Americans, for Native Americans. And they go to all of these events around the country to make sure that everybody knows about our opportunities. Some of these internships, the internships and fellowships, the initial point of the Pickering and the Wrangell Fellowship was to bring in a diverse group of people that did not really know about our opportunities. And by providing them with the master's degree first, that prepares them for our careers. So that was a diversity initiative. The internship, the second internship, is merit-based and need-based, and also we are looking for people who have overcome hardship or have a story about overcoming some difficulty. So these are all kind of diversity issues. A couple of other things we've done with our process. The test is now online, so you don't have to go to a particular test center. You can, but you can do it online. The second, there's an assessment that used to be that people had to travel to Washington, D.C. to take part in the assessment. That has all been moved online. So we're trying to remove these barriers. And then actually the biggest one that we've done is the internships. Up until 2 years ago, these were unpaid. Who do you think can travel to Washington for an unpaid internship? Exactly. So that, I think, is one of the biggest things we've done to increase the diversity, to make sure that everybody can say yes to these internships. Even I was offered a State Department internship 27 years ago. I had to turn it down because I said, who can live in Washington unpaid for a summer? So this is, these are the things that we're doing to reduce those barriers and to increase our diversity.
Thank you very much, Susan. We'll bring this to a close. She is going to stay here a few more minutes. If you have another question, please go over to her table. She'll be packing up because she does need to be moving on about 5. But a warm round of applause. Appreciate
I will actually leave them. I'll take the tablecloth, but I'll leave all of those materials so you can gather them later too.
Great. Thank you very much. So now, if you'll be patient with me, I just want to go around the room. Each of you that have come here with a table, just introduce yourself and your organization. No speeches, but this is a chance to attract them over to talk with you again. So please, who are you and why are you here?
Good afternoon, everyone. Kim Johnson, and I'm representing the Minnesota Department of Veteran Affairs, MDVA. And just to make sure we do not have any confusion with careers.state.gov, when you apply for positions within Minnesota, it's actually mn.gov/careers.
My name is Edward Arias. I work for United Healthcare
out in Minnetonka, and I've known Mohammed Kamin for about 3 years now. And we've been friends through making connections of doing community work, specifically in the Somali community. I come from New York. I'm a native kid from the Bronx. I was born in the Bronx. I'm a welfare kid. I grew up on government cheese. So I know what it's like to grow up in an environment where you're looking for opportunities that may be hard to find sometimes, or you don't see yourself in certain roles. I can tell you that I found my way to success, as I see success. I found my way there through education. So for me, it was going to college and getting my undergrad degree, then going to law school and getting my law degree. But I did all of that while I was working full time and raising kids. So I say that to some of you here who may not be Gen Z or millennials, the younger generation. You can work through getting your education and accomplishing things you want to accomplish in your life by continuing to persevere, right? With a lot of faith and then a lot of dedication. And I think for me, my driving motivation was probably my family, making sure that I was able to provide my kids a better way and a better path forward than what I had to go through. So I say all of that to give you hope that there is opportunity for a lot of us who are black and brown and who sometimes go into organizations like the one I work in that are predominantly white in nature, right? And you see a lot of these careers where people don't look like you. The good thing is that you're starting to see a lot of that shift. And what I tell people is it's okay to aim for a job that you think you have all the skills for and all the qualifications that you meet, but sometimes those opportunities don't present themselves right away for you. And so what I say is take the opportunity that's in front of you when you can get into an organization. It may not be the role you want, but it's a good stepping stone, and it's a great way for you to gain some recognition and have people get to know who you are, because the opportunities typically present themselves once people see the quality of person you are and the dedication that you put into the work that you do. That really does drive success for you. One of the great things that I love about this networking, this is one of the biggest advantages you're going to have in any career field you choose, is to start to meet as many people as you can that do work that you want to do or work that's similar to what you want to do. And even if you meet people that don't do the work that's like the work you want to do, if they're working for an organization that has those kind of jobs, it's still good to know people who work for those companies. So what I say is when you meet somebody, always meet them with a smile and ask them what they do for a living. If you're curious about the work or the companies they work for, ask questions. That's the best opportunity for you to get to know whether or not either the field you're approaching is something you want to do, because someone with experience will tell you not only what a great field it is, but it'll tell you how hard it can be, or sometimes what are the downfalls or the pitfalls of those jobs that you're looking at. So just be open to listening. One of the things I always say is, especially as a new person coming into a new job in a new organization, listen and learn. Even sometimes when you know the answer or you think you know that you have enough information, if you listen to those people who've been doing the work for a while, they can sometimes share some insights you didn't even think about because you haven't been doing that type of work. So that's all I have to say. I wanted to thank you all for allowing me to be here today. Thank you.
Thank you all. Let's do a quick thank you for the people that presented a little bit of their story. They're designed to encourage you to explore new horizons, meet new people, as you've just heard from Edward. So we have Beirut, thank you for your taking time to be with us and to stimulate our thinking. Fartun, thank you as always for your leadership. And also Edward, thank you. And Susan, before you run, thank you again for taking time here. We have a series of really provocative and interesting and important ideas that have been put on the table for you for new jobs, new career paths. And we owe a debt of thanks to you, Mohammed, for organizing this event. So a round of applause for our panelists and for Mohammed. We're going to be here for roughly another 45 minutes, maybe close to an hour. So please go to some of these tables, thank them for coming, take their business cards, continue your learning process, and strengthen this community through your own networking and your own communities. The diaspora groups in this part of the state are wonderful, and you can be leaders of them and continue that heritage and that strength going forward. Thank you all for coming. Please take time to network. My name is Jim Rice. I'm on the board of the Minnesota International NGOs Network, and I've had the privilege and the fun of working with Mohammed Ismail in the Minnesota Institute for Horn of Africa Studies. Today we've had a great opportunity for a large and diverse group of employers to come together and to meet people from the East African diaspora, people from Ethiopia, Somalia, Eritrea. There's a growing and vibrant diaspora community, and they're of course understandably interested in employment opportunities, career pathways, how to find them, how to develop them, how to engage with them. We had an excellent panel, and it's my pleasure to be with them. I learned a lot from today. I hope you all have a chance to engage with the diaspora communities. Thank you.
Bismillah. Magacayga waxaa la yiraahdaa Karim Faarax. Waxaan maanta joognaa Norwegian House. Halkaas oo lagu soo bandhigay xaqiiqatan shaqooyin aad u fara badan oo kala duwan. Hadday ahaan lahayd shaqooyinka professionalka ah iyo kuwa technicalka intaba. Xaqiiqatan dadku ay aad ugu baahan yihiin oo la rabo in laga faa'iideysto. In badan maaragtay dadka iclaamaad loo sameeyay ama warbaahinta looga sheegayay la soo bandhigay. Taasoo loo baahan yahay dadku inay ka faa'iideystaan. ayaga oo keensanaya nuqulaadkooda dalabaadka hadday noqon lahayd resume-ga hadday noqon lahayd cover letterskooda ayna ka faa'iideystaan waa shaqooyin ilaa iyo heer maaragtay maxaa la yiraahdaa federaal ah oo state departmentiga waddankan Mareykanka ugu sareysa ay soo bandhigayso xirfado aad u kala duwan leh xaqiiqatan يعني field aan ku jirin ma jiro
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم magacaygu waa engineer Ahmed Abdullahi waxaan ka socdaa company la yiraahdo Gift in Tech Consulting oo ka shaqeeya hawlaha technology-ga gaar ahaan networking-ka iyo network security-ga runtii waxaan u nimid maanta fursadan ah inaan ku soo bandhigno anagoo raadinayna connections iyo cidii aanu wada shaqeyn kari lahayn raadinayna halka korba laga helo opportunity-ga aanu ka qabano gobolka Minnesota iyo guud ahaan Mareykanka runtii waxaan noo muuqatay in kulanadan oo kale ay ballaarin karaan ama outreach fiican ay u yihiin inaanu ballaarino business-kayga gaar ahaan dhinaca technology-ga oo aanu runtii ka qabano meelo kala duwan iyo goobo kala duwan iyo company kala duwan oo ku yaala Mareykanka gaar ahaan gobolka Minnesota runtii waxaan moodaa in baahida taale ee gaar ahaan community-ga ka soo jeeda East Africa ay technology-gu qayb muhiim ka tahay loo baahan yahay in la daraaseeyo loo baahan yahay in aqoonta laga qayb qaato in la barto si fudud loogu shaqeyn karo technology-gu sida caafimaadka oo kale wuxuu ka mid yahay maadooyinka ama fields-ka runtii aadka u koreeya duniduba ay runtii u socoto sidaas daraadeed waxaan ku dhiirigelinayaa dhalinyarada jaamacadaha ku jirta iyo kuwa technical courses ka qaataba inay runtii focus-kooda siiyaan qayb kamida sida technology-ga u baran lahaayeen si ay fursado u helaan wad mahadsantihiin